another project. So this is a 2009, of course, you've seen it. Can-Am, I think it's a 998, so it's a 1000. Made by Bombardier, BRP, Can-Am. So, like I had said, the guy who had this thing, he had it since 2014. He was riding it. He did some funky paint on it. Like I say, it's got the, I don't know why, horse's mouth lip looking thing on the front. And they said he went out to crank it up, hit the start button, and it just grind. He had a loud grinding sound coming from the starter. So he had started to pull this cover off, and I got to get it off of there. He said he couldn't get the flywheel off to check the starter gear. He did pull the starter off, which I think is on the other side, and he didn't see anything wrong with it. Starter. Where is the starter? I think they're at the front. We'll have to get some of these plastics off. But he said he couldn't get the flywheel off, which it has a starter clutch on it, to see what was going on. So he left it like it is. There's a special tool that pulls that thing off, and he just didn't buy it. But what I want to do, I really want to pull the stator cover off and inspect it, make sure he didn't try to do anything funky and mess up the flywheel, and maybe we can stick it back on, throw a couple bolts in it, put a battery on it, and just see exactly what noise it's making. Now I did order the tool that removes the flywheel. It won't be here till tomorrow, but we can see what electronics work. It's supposed to have, I think, 37,000 miles on it. I'm not sure. I can't remember what he told me. But it's been rolled hard and put up wet. I mean, all this stuff is hanging off of it. It's got wires and lights rigged in it. It was missing this side. This came out of my other parts that I got with the other ones. And there's a whole trunk full of plastics and screws and doodads. I got the fenders. He took the fenders off. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put the fenders back on. I think they kind of look cool without the fenders, but if you're riding in the rain or something, you can pick up some trash when you go to turn and splash you to death. Or if you run over something, I would rather have the fenders back on it. But pretty much together. We got key. Turn that, the seat pops up. It don't pop up very far, just enough for you to put gas in it. I got the rear fender. Basically got everything to it. But he said the engine ran fine, it just wouldn't start. So I'm going to pull this cover off. Let's look in there and make sure he didn't try to pull that flywheel off with a flywheel puller, a 3-jaw puller, mess up something. Make sure there ain't nothing missing in there. Even though we got 2 other engines, I would rather inspect it, make sure there ain't nothing broken, because the pictures he sent me, he had the side cover off. And when I got there, he had stuck it back on there, which is good, so it won't bounce around and break anything, but I kind of want to look in there and inspect it. And but if it is the starter clutch, like I said, I got the puller coming. We can always snatch it off one of those other engines and stick it on there. But let me get some things set up and we'll see what we got. All right, see if we can get this cover off. It's a speed sensor or a crank sensor, probably. Let's see. put none of the screws back in it. Oh yeah, some screws laying inside of there. There's a stator. You probably want to pull this oil canister off. Get you guys in there. It's kind of hard to work around this oil canister. Just kind of move this stuff. Get a rag. So luckily I did take it off because there's some screws in there, and hopefully I got the right tool. Looks like screws inside of the flywheel and tool pulls it off of there. I don't know what these screws are. That would have sucked to turn it over. Oh, those screws hold the crank sensor. Those screws hold the crank sensor ring on. So he pulled those screws out and thought that would pull the pulley off, the flywheel, whatever you want to call it. So we need to put those screws back in there because that can throw it out of time and it won't crank because that actually reads the crank sensor. So luckily I didn't put a battery in it to try and fire it up. That's supposed to pull off with it. It looked like the starter gear is intact there. So we just need to put these screws back in the hole. Hopefully it didn't slip. I'm gonna have to get an Allen wrench to man, that thing's got some strong magnet. Should have got a gasket too. We're missing a side cover gasket. Guess I need to order one of those. But I'm gonna get these Allen screws back in there. There's 5 of them. I guess we can't crank it because it don't have any oil in it. But we can, he's got one coil right here unhooked from the spark plug. We can just take the other coil wire off and just bump it just to see what noises it's making. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these screws back in there. Probably gonna have to go get an Allen socket. It's set for a long time without this side cover on because you can see the surface rust that's on the flywheel. Hold it. the magnet is drawing the screws out of the hole. So let me see if I can find an Allen socket so we can tighten those up, and I'll put the side cover on. I got a battery charging up, and we'll see what noise it's making. Okay, I got the side cover back on. I'm going to go ahead and stick the battery in it. Let's see. Battery goes back here. And I can't turn it over very long because it don't have any oil in it. I just want to hear the noise he's talking about. I looked at that the back of the flywheel, and I didn't see any starter clutch, so I'm gonna really need to do some sparkage. Really need to know if this thing actually got a starter clutch. I looked it up, but it might have been for a different year, so it might not have one. It looks like it's just gear to gear, but I don't know how that would work. Hopefully ain't no wires or nothing touching. Alright, let's see if we got anything right up on the dash. I hear the fuel pump. Does it say the mileage? Let's see. It's got 49,000 miles. Okay. Let's see what it do. I'm going to bump it over. And hopefully we can hear what it does. Now I know one of the coil wires is out. I got the crank sensor still out, so now I don't know how you crank these things. Gotta click. VSS fault. Vehicle speed sensor. Okay. We're going to have to put that back in because it's not reading it's not reading flywheel. Still saying VSS fault. Do you hold this in? There's a check engine light on. Check DPS. Huh. DPS. It's in neutral. Something's unhooked. I really should have had disconnected that fuel system. I don't know what kind of gas is in it, but something's unplugged somewhere. So much stuff up in here. And now we got the crank sensor back. I might have to Google that and see what that means. Let's see the starter back here. I don't know what that means. VSS fault. So that'll be vehicle speed sensor. Got a horn. That'll be reverse. Huh. I'm gonna have to check it out, guys. It's saying vehicle speed sensor, then it said DSS. Hopefully it's not a problem with the key program. I might just take the battery loose and see if we can get it to reset itself. So I'm gonna hook the battery. I did hear a click, but then it said the DSS or whatever. Start a solenoid. Before operating, read safety card above, then press M button. VSS fault. Check DPS. Huh. I hope it didn't lose the program when it's sitting so long. Let's see, press menu button. Check DPS. I'm not real sure what check DPS. I think that's part of the key DPS. I think that's what it is. The programmable key. ABS fault. VSS fault. We got no start. Check DPS. We got an ABS fault. I have to dig around in there and make sure everything's plugged up, because he might have something unplugged. I don't know why he would have something over in here unplugged if he just took the stator cover off. Some wires. These things have got wires for days. We could jump at the starter solenoid. Let's go on the other side. See, the back of the starter is there. DPS. I'm gonna have to do some look it up and see what that means. I don't see anything unplugged, but it's definitely saying ABS fault, VSS file. That'll be vehicle speed sensor, I would think. And check DPS. So let me look that up and see what that means, and we'll figure it out. So I think I figured out what I was doing wrong. I looked it up and it said on these things, you're supposed to get on them, turn the key on, and then you hold the brake. Well, you wait 5 seconds, you hit the mode button, and then hit start. And that didn't do it. Let's try it again. Before operating, okay, press M button. Then hit start. For some reason it's not starting. Oh, I ain't got nothing. I think my battery went dead. Still not cranking. I don't know. Let me look at the instructions. So it says, brake with the foot pedal, never apply parking brake while moving. How? Road conditions, wear helmet, instructions for passenger. They'll tell you, supposed to tell you how to start it. I just don't know. So I don't know why it's not starting. It clicked one time. The neutral light's not on, I see that. The brake light is on. I just don't know why it's not starting, folks. At least to get a starter clip. I know the battery seems like it's weak. Let me see, can I get a better battery put on it? That battery, the one that came out of it. See what that does. Oh. My jumper cable popped off. So I got a battery I'm jumping it with off the car. And I can't keep the doggone cable on there. Let's see what you do now. I hear the fuel pump. All those codes just went away. So maybe the battery just wasn't, didn't have enough voltage. So hit the M button. That's mode. See, I hear the fuel pump. Whee! hold the brake. See, the starter's not doing anything. Starter clicked. I believe something's wrong with the starter. I do believe starter is bad. Not getting a good connection. Hold the mode button. I think the starter's bad. The bad thing is it's raining cats and dogs outside and I can't go pull a starter off one of the other ones. So I'm going to have to wait till the weather gets better. But how the starter's clicking, I bet you the starter's burnt up in it. So I'm going to have to wait till the weather get better, pull another starter off one of the other ones and put it on here and see what that does. Because I tried to jump it at the solenoid and the starter just clicks also. So just have to play the wait game on the weather. Okay, so what I did, I went ahead and pulled the starter out and I'm gonna see how it operates without it being in the bike. And I didn't try to jump it at another battery. I'm going to try it on the bike. I got it grounded to the frame and we'll see what the starter does. Mode button. So we know the starter's good. Starter's working. So starter works outside the bike, but when it's in the bike it just clicks. So we either got two things going on. Starter's weak, not able to turn the engine over, or we have an engine problem. So what I'm going to do while the starter is out, I'm going to pull the side cover back off and try and turn the engine over by hand. And if it turns over, we know the engine's good. If it don't turn over, the engine's bad. Something's up with the engine. He said it was making a grinding sound. Maybe it was grinding because the engine's just no good. Maybe he messed up the engine. I don't know. But we're going to try that. So I'm actually going to put the starter back in. Also, while I'm going to stick it back in there and try it one more time before I pull this cover off. Maybe the starter just needs to be twirled over without it being in the bike, but I'm going to try that, and then I'm going to snatch this cover off and see if we can turn this motor by hand. Alright, so I got the starter back in. Let's see what it does. And it just clicks. Huh. It's gotta be something. Starter twirls over pretty damn good. It's either the starter is bad or something's up with the engine. So what I'm gonna do, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the side cover back off. Let's see if we can turn the engine a full revolution. And if that works, then it can't be nothing but the starter. It's either that or the starter. If it's got a starter clutch, it's locked up. But I just want to verify what's up with it before I go pulling parts off of the other bike. So I'm going to unhook the battery. That engine should turn. For me, I think it's a starter, even though it sounds good, but you might not have enough juice to crank it. Not because of the battery, but because of the starter itself. I should have tried to turn it by hand earlier, but didn't think about it. Pull it off of here and see what we got. Let's cover. I thought about trying to turn it over without the cover on. It's almost like the starter clutches it's locked in. It's staying engaged because I'm rocking the flywheel and the starter is trying to turn with it. Let me get something out. Let me get something on that flywheel. It's kind of hard to work between that oil tank. Everything's in my way. That better? Yeah, that's better. What if I could put a pipe wrench? don't have a screw big enough to go inside of the crankshaft. Actually, I think it's supposed to have a bolt in the middle of the crankshaft. Yep. That holds the crankshaft on the crank. I knew something was missing. That's one thing about working on stuff somebody else has been tinkering with. So the engine's turning. Get a smaller wrench. Engine's turning. I'm thinking that's the bolt. It's like, ow. It's turning the starter and everything at the same time. Unless I'm going the right way. I do believe the starter clutch is locked up in it. Because it shouldn't be turning. I'm hoping that's the bolt for that. It threads in. But when I turn it, they don't give no room in here. Stay there. See, the starter stand engaged. So I did find out it does have a one-way bearing starter clutch. So that could be locked up. Maybe the one-way bearing's locked up and it's not freewheeling to let the starter turn the opposite. I think how it works, the starter turns one way and the one-way bearing turns the other way. But for some reason, it's turning the motor either way I go with it. See, that way it's locked up there. I can barely turn it. But if I go this way, see that? It's like the one-way bearing is locked up. And it's supposed to freewheel. So when the engine cranks, it's supposed to freewheel and stop turning. So stop turning the one-way bearing. So when you hit the start button and that starter turns, once it turns and hit the one-way bearing, the engine will crank up and then it'll free spin and the starter stop turning these gears right here. Now I believe that's how it goes. I ain't too familiar with starter clutches, but I know it's supposed to freewheel. And with it not freewheeling, it's got the engine kind of locked in one position. It's so hard to work on these things and hold the camera. But like right now, I can turn it just a little bit that way and then lock up. And I go this way. I'm sorry guys, it's so much stuff in the way. See, it won't turn that way, and it's turning the starter. Either way I go, it's turning the starter. It's supposed to free spin those gears back here. I know it's hard to see, but oh well, we'll wait on the puller to come so we can pull that off and inspect that. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with the starter. I'm back to the starter clutch. Like I said, I've never worked on one of these before, so everything's new to me, but we will figure it out. So I got some good news. I was able to acquire this long metric bolt, which is a 1.5 millimeter thread, and it's 20 millimeters in diameter, and it fits right into the end of the flywheel. I called our local Can-Am dealer, and they said that Can-Am don't sell the tool to pull this off. They said the only thing they sell them is, well, they sell the tool, but they only sell it to the dealer, and they only have the ones that they use in the shop. Don't know if that's true or not, but I've been searching all over the internet and I couldn't find a tool to pull this off with. So I'm guessing it's just a bolt. It's all it is. It's nothing special, because once you screw it in, it goes against the crankshaft and pushes it off. So this is a 20 millimeter diameter bolt, and it's 1.5 millimeter thread. And that bolt there, let's see how long it is. Because you're going to need a bolt that's long enough so when you run it in, it pulls that flywheel right off of there. So this is 5 inches, 5 1/8 inches long, or 5 1/4. Well, let's just say to the end of the bolt head is 5 5/8. So let's see, can we run this thing off of there? And it takes an 1 1/4 socket. Ooh. That didn't sound too good. It didn't even budge. You probably have to run it down. Run it down tight and bop it with a hammer. This is falling all in the way. That sucker's on there. tight. That sucker will not come off of there. I know this is not threaded. Should pull right off of there once you run it in. Huh. Had to do some more research on that. I would thought it would have just holy smoligans! Broke the socket. Wow. That was a cheap socket. Sucker is tight. I gotta find another socket. Gotta find another 1.25" socket. Well, we found one somewhere, but that one just disintegrated. So after destroying a socket, I made this rod here. It's just a steel rod. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put it inside of there, which is too short. Kind of cut it too short. I thought if I put that rod, that'll help press against the crank. But I kind of made it too short. I'm trying to keep the bolt off of the crank. Let's just see what it does anyway. I might have to heat it up. I think I might have destroyed the threads. Uh-oh. That was a bad idea. That was a real bad idea. Oh, man. So I had to bring in reinforcements. Drug this one back here so we can take the starter off of it to put on this one, because I was messing with the flywheel and I accidentally stripped the threads out. Accidentally. You seen when I broke the socket and I stripped it out. But I did find out something good. I did get it to turn over finally. So what I did was got a battery, jumped it straight to that battery, and I got my start button hooked up. Well, when I got the start button hooked up, turns over. When I go up here and do it at the key, it won't turn over. So I got a voltage break somewhere, and I believe it's in the solenoid. Because now I can turn it over with the start button with my trigger here. As soon as I go up here and do it, probably won't turn over. Let's try it. Gotta hit the mode button. See how click, 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 click. So that means we got a voltage problem. Now I bet you I can go here. See, turns right over. So we got a voltage problem, and I'm thinking it's in that starter solenoid, because I can jump a screwdriver across the post and it will turn over, and I can jump it with the start button and it will turn over, but that's bypassing the starter solenoid. So we got a voltage break somewhere. Like I said, I already took the start off that one and put it in there. So I'm going to keep checking. I'll probably take the starter solenoid off of that one and put it on here. And I ordered a new crankshaft bolt. It'll be here this weekend because we're missing the bolt. It don't sound like the starter clutch is bad, because I took those bolts loose down there inside the flywheel, and I can turn the starter clutch and it turns easily behind the flywheel. So that's not locked up, and you just seen that it turns. I got the spark plugs out so it'll be less compression, but we can always pop them in. But I don't want to keep turning over too much because I don't have any oil in it, and I also ordered a side cover gasket for it. But I am going to swap starter solenoid off of this one. Now I did find out that these are two different bikes. This one here is actually, they call it a semi-automatic because it has a hydraulic transmission shifter. See the arm going there? It's like a hydraulic shifter. So it shifts on its own. And that's the only thing different. The stator cover is different. That's different. And it don't have a hydraulic clutch. So this bike over here has a clutch, because there's a slave cylinder. So two different bikes, well, models, but they're basically the same. That one's a 9, this one's a 14. This one is a A2EH, and this one is a A190. So I'm gonna look up the model numbers and they'll tell me. Now that is a RS model because the panel says RS, but what I'm thinking is it's a RS semi-automatic. I guess that's what I looked up. And this one is supposed to be RS. I guess they made so many different models of them. So, but that model number will be able to tell me. So I'm going to play around with the starter solenoids and the cables. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this one to fire up. We're gonna get it to run. Whether it makes noise, I didn't hear any grinding sound coming from the starter. So whether it's something in the motor that he heard, or maybe it was just low voltage and the starter was just dragging. But we're gonna get this one to fire up. So I'm gonna play around with it some more, and when I come with a definite answer of why it's doing this, y'all be the first one to see it. So I finally got the flywheel off this dang Can-Am Spyder. That thing was frozen on there, and you see what I had to do. I had to cut some of it off. I accidentally got the crankshaft. I'll show you that. But I had to cut some of the magnet in the outside to get a grinder in there to cut around the crankshaft to relieve some pressure so it can pop off of the crankshaft. Now, these things are pressed on. They got a keyway, and they also have the bolt. There's very limited videos to show you how to take this off, but you're supposed to use, like I showed, just a M20 1.5 bolt. I did see a guy doing a Can-Am Renegade, and he used a M20 1.5 oil drain screw. Popped right off. But for some reason, this thing was seized on there. So here's the one-way bearing. You can see the springs are broken. It was skipping around. I actually got a video of that. This is what the one-way bearing rides on. And that gear here, the starter turns it. Actually, this is all bolted together just for reference. Starter turns that, which activates the one-way bearing. So I had to use a slide hammer with this gear puller and some 2 long bolts. And when this is bolted to the back of here, you can thread your long bolts in. Put the slide hammer, poop, 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 pop right off. But like I said, I accidentally got the crankshaft just a little bit, kind of nicked it. But it'd be alright. That sticks, actually, how to explain that? The flywheel stops before that sticks out. So it don't even ride on this end. It's just the tip of it. That's the original part here. But you can see the key, little keyway right there. So this thing, when that pulley slides up under a flywheel, this thing swells right here. So as it presses on, it swells. It don't ride back here. It actually ride right here. So anyway, this right here is where your starter clutch gear rides, and that thing's got a bushing in it. But the starter clutch is ran by your starter. There's your starter. This is one gear right here. This gear turns, hits your one-way bearing gear. And there's nothing else over here. Well, that thing was just pressed on really, really bad. I don't know if the heat from the one-way bearing caused it to seize on the shaft. But I got it off. So I'm trying to debate, should I take the one out of this engine here? I think this engine sounds like it's got more compression than the other engine on the other one. Trying to debate which one should I pull it off of. I'm going to be careful, and hopefully this one pops right off and be able to put it over on that one. I can buy a brand new one. They're like $300, I think. But being we got 2 of these engines, I've already hooked the battery to it, and I heard it spin over, so I know both of the starter clutches are good. So I'm going to attempt to pull one off one of these engines and put it on this engine here. So anyway, I'm going to take a break for the night. I've been working on this thing all day, and we will pick up and get that one-way bearing, flywheel stuff off of one of these spare ones and get it on there and get it running. So if you don't see any more of this video on that, it'll be in the next video, because I got some stuff I got to take care of, and this is time consuming, real time consuming. So if you're working on one of these Can-Am Spyders and you got a starter clutch issue, I hope that you can get your flywheel off without doing what I did, slicing and dicing, because like I said, I've been working on this. I've actually been working on it for 2 days. But anyway, I'm going to go to bed. We'll holler at y'all later. Alright, so we're down to the stator and flywheel. As you've seen, I had to pull off that auto shift. It's like an auto shift transmission type deal. It has a filter in it. It operates off of oil pressure, because that's where this line right here is going to the motor. So this one has the actual crankshaft bolt, which is a hex head bolt. So hopefully we don't screw this up. There's our washer. So this is the bolt that we're missing on the other one. So now we should be able to pull that off. No cutting. This comes right off. Hopefully this one comes off. Everything looks new. The starter gears, everything looks good in there. We know the starter clutch works. Let me get the bolt. Fingers crossed this comes off. Oh, I gotta get the socket. That sucker's on there tight. Woo! That is on there super tight. Don't want to go through this again. I don't know why they're so tight. Couldn't find no information on how to pull this thing off. There's one guy that used an oil drain screw. It's not budging. It's right against the crankshaft. Right against the crankshaft. Might have to heat it up. Might have to use the impact. The air impact. air impact stronger than the Milwaukee. See the starter clutch turning as you see those gears turning. Ooh-wee. Might have to go get the big impact. It ain't budging. This makes no sense. Ooh. Let me go get the big impact. All right, I got the big 1/4 pound impact. I'm gonna hold it with this wrench so won't slip. Man, that thing still won't come off. That's the biggest impact I got. This is ridiculous, folks. Oh, I think it came loose. Yes! Yes! I can tell the change of the sound. Yes! And look, it looks brand new. The bushing looks new. The one-way bearing works perfectly. That's all I had to do to the other one before I destroyed the flywheel. It's off, finally. Now we can put the other one back together. And I think I can salvage this gasket. I ordered a gasket for it, and it was supposed to come today, which is Saturday, and it says it's running late. So if I can carefully get this gasket off with a razor blade, I can use it. The other piece stuck on the cover. But this engine is pretty clean inside. You can look at the stator cover. But hopefully the timing marks on this, I forgot what they call it. They call it some kind of ring. Excuse me. Hopefully the timing marks is the same as the other one, because this is pressed on there, and that's what the crankshaft sensor reads around this ring here. They got a name for it. I can't remember, but anyway, I'm probably going to pluck these gears off of here too and just put everything on there. And I know everything is newer. I don't know how many miles is on this motor, but you see how clean it is. So I'm gonna get everything I need off of here, get it on the other bike, and let's see what this thing finally runs. Okay, so I got the stator cover back on, which the flywheel and all that back on. Now I'm gonna put some oil in it, and I'm gonna leave the spark plug wires off. I want to bump it over just to get the oil pump back primed up, because it was completely drained of oil, and it's been sitting. So I want to get everything lubed back up before I attempt to crank it. Just to be safe. Yeah, we got a long way to go. This thing probably feels all the way up to almost the top. I was able to salvage that gasket off of the other motor. Put some sealant on it, so if we don't see any leaks there, we're good. Like I said, I got a gasket on the way, but I don't know exactly when it's going to show up. It's supposed to be here today, but that didn't happen. See a little oil on that seal. Let's see. Ooh, I think I might have overfilled it. Might have a little bit too much oil in it. Well, it's got to circulate anyway, so I think it'll be alright. This has got to fill all the journals back up on the top side of the motor. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to I'm going to spin it over, and I got the spark plug wires off, and get it all primed back up. Sounds pretty good. I hear a ticking sound, but I guess that's just the lifters, I guess. Maybe they're not primed up yet. Give it one more whirl. Alright. It's got some kind of light down there that's flickering. I guess that's... Is that one of the headlight bulbs? I guess. Let me go put the radiator, set it back. I still gotta tighten the starter bolts up. I mean, we can crank it and not run it too long. I think I gotta put some coolant in it. I didn't check the coolant. Now I gotta find out where you check the coolant. I think the coolant bottle's up front. So what I need to do, I really need to check the coolant, because I don't know if he drained it out or not. But I gotta set the radiator back in there. It's just kind of hanging out over there, and I gotta tighten the starter up. But you hear it does turn over, so that's good news there. I don't see anything leaking out of the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is get set up, put the radiator back in, because it's just kind of hanging out, and I gotta tighten the starter down, and that gas kind of smells funky, so I'm gonna get some fresh gas, and I think we should be ready to fire it up. Alright guys, Got fresh gas in it, oil, coolant's topped off. Let's see what it do. Fingers crossed. It's gonna be loud. Oh, battery's dead. Gotta find my boost pack. Hopefully, got flywheel and crank sensor. It'll work out. Oh. We're not cranking. So I wonder if we're firing. Let me check the fire. Like I said, hopefully those flywheels are not different. Gotta find a spark plug. Hopefully the fuel pump's working. They're definitely firing. So I'm wondering if the fuel pump's working. It's humming, but it's not cranking. So I wonder if we can get to the air box. Shoot it with a little go-go juice. Might have to pull all this front plastic stuff off. It's got a gigantic air box. Yep. I'm gonna have to pull this front cover off and then see if I can get something down in there. So it's the next day. I kept playing with this thing last night. I noticed that gas was really funky in that tank. So I drained all the gas out of the tank completely instead of just dumping new gas on top of that bad stuff. And I also took the air filter cover off to make sure it wasn't any mice nests or anything. Make sure it had an air filter in it. And I put some brand new spark plugs in it that I had. So let's see what they do now. And also I got a better battery. Nope. Hmm. I think the timing is off. I think it's something different with those flywheels. I believe that the reluctor ring, that's what they call it, that's on the flywheel, I think it's in a different location than the original one. And it's causing it not to crank up because it's out of time. So I'm probably gonna have to pull that side cover back off and look at that reluctor ring and see if it's in the same spot on the flywheel as the old one. I looked at this last night. It's got a Z34. I don't know if you can see that mark. It's a timer mark right there. So I'm wondering, is this in a different spot on that flywheel, even though they're a couple years apart, but that could mean that the timing could be off because this bike over here is a 2014 and the timing could be different. So well, the gasket's coming anyway, so I'm just going to pull that side cover back off, look at the flywheel, see where that timing mark is with the reluctor ring on the flywheel. And I'm thinking, I also last night I tried to get this one off and it was starting to come off. So I wonder, I hate I cut this up. I wonder if I can get this reluctor ring off of the new one and just turn it to where that timing, this opening is where it's supposed to be. Because I got to looking at some pictures on some online, and these things, they're in the timing mark. This gap here is in a different spot, and this one says Z34. I don't remember if that one was at the Z34 mark, but that might be what the problem is. So I'll wait till the gasket come in, we'll rip that back off and we'll try and fix it. Alright, so I got the magneto flywheel thingamajig off, and it is definitely set on BZ34. You see how it's got this wide open gap here, and this one here is set on Z34. See that? And on this one, Z34 is actually right here. It's kind of hard to see. It's right where that arrow is. That line right there. You can barely see the Z. I'm trying to focus in on it. But this opening here is supposed to be over here where the Z34 is, like this one. So this thing is timed just for the 2014 model. I guess they changed the timing on them. And if I didn't cut the thing in half, we could have probably used this one. Just went ahead and finished taking it off and used it, but too late for that. So what I'm gonna do, I got me a small flat punch. I started on this one. You can see the gap. So I'm gonna go behind here and tap around and get this reluctor ring, is what this is called. I'm gonna get it loose because I think when you come off of this up here, it kind of bevels out. You can see right up under the teeth. Get it off and then just turn it to where it gets to this mark right here. So this opening where this white grease paint is will be here, and that will retime this magneto, and the crank sensor should pick it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on that, and we'll get it back together one more time, and I think we'll have it. So let's put you guys up here. And I should be able to take, like I say, a punch, flat punch, and just a hammer. So that's the problem I have too, is trying to I want to be gentle with it. Why Can-Am did this, it's beyond me. Same engine. All right, so tap, 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 and we got it off. So now we just need to, whoop. That's what it looks like. It's just a ring. So now we just need to put that opening, like I was saying, right here where it says Z34. I wonder, well, I thought that would mean before the B34, but we're gonna put it right here where it says Z34. That's where the edge of that opening needs to go. So I'm probably gonna have to lay it down flat to put that on so I can get an even strike on it. I think the oil on there helped out too. It helped it, ow, ow, got a metal splinter. Great. Got a metal splinter, but I think the oil really helped it out of it coming off. So now I got a metal splinter on my finger. Have to get that out. You gotta make sure all those metal shavings is off. So we should be able just to tap that back on where it's supposed to go. Didn't know I was gonna get a splinter today. Okay, that's out. Alright, so what do I need to get? Should we put some Loctite on there or something? I mean, it swells out once it goes on. A little oil. You don't want that thing to spin. I think once it's on there, it's not going to come off once it's pressed back on. Let me get a couple pictures. Alright. So now, just got to turn it. Timing mark has got to be right on the money when you put it back on there, because if you get it probably just a little out, I feel like I still got a splinter in my finger. Oh, it is still there. Don't worry about that. Yeah, it's got to be right on the money. By looking at this, I wish this other one would stay flipped. Like it's, I mean, a little off probably won't hurt it, but gotta get it close as we can, because it's gonna try to move once I start tapping on it. So it just don't look right. I wish you guys can see it, but the line is so small. I'm gonna go with it right there. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on it. That's a lot of work taking that back off. I think I better go a little bit past it, so that way if it turns, man, that thing is hard. It's gonna have to be it right there. Wish I had something I can put it in the press and press it down. So the only thing I can come up with is just take the air chisel and barely bump it while I hold this other end down, the other side with something, and hopefully that'll work. Sliding right off of there. Gotta keep my eye on the ring. Man, that sucker does not want to go back on there. Kind of throwing me off a little bit. Coming off is easy, going back on is hard. I think I might have got it started. Popping off. Popping off and it's moving at the same time. I'm gonna have to have some help with this. Someone to hold it. I think the PB blaster didn't do it no justice either. It's just making it kind of slick. Right in it. Let's see. Oh man, I think I might have got it started where it might pop on down there. Nope, popping right back off. Yeah, I'm gonna have to run up to a buddy of mine. He's gonna have to hold it while I get it back on there, because I can't do it by myself. So I'm gonna have to just run that up. A buddy of mine, he helped me press this back on, and then we'll throw it back on there and hopefully it'll run. Alright, I didn't have to go nowhere. I fought with it, finally got it where it was almost on, used a big punch and a hammer, and it's on there. I mean, it's a little bit past Z34 mark, just a smidget, but I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of hard to see because it's pressed in the metal, but it's a little bit, I mean, it's a titsy witsy fingernail width past it, but it is lined up with it. So, and also I looked at which way the keyway on the flywheels were facing, and they both was facing the same way when that mark's lined up. So now I'm just going to put the back of the clutch, starter clutch back on, clean all this up, and put it on the bike, and fingers crossed this thing will run. I think it will run, because now the timing should be correct. Alright guys, we got it all buttoned back up, got the oil back in it. I still got the airbox top off. I'll put it back on there after we get it running. So let's see what she does. Fingers crossed. that? She is loud. Woo! She is loud. That is very, very loud. And he was riding this thing with no exhaust on it. I mean, that is crazy. Why would you ride this thing straight pipe? And I'm inside the garage, so, and you guys are watching it on your phones or your computers, and you don't realize how loud this thing is unless you're standing by it. But we're gonna quieten it up. We're gonna put the pipe back on it. But it runs, sounds good. So that's all it was the timing marks on that 2014 Magneto is in a different spot. I'm probably gonna unhook the battery, our extra battery now. Let's see what it crank without it. Let's see. Nope. You gotta have a good battery to crank this thing. It ain't gonna crank. So what's going on, guys? So I thought I was gonna end the video from after we got it started, but I want to go ahead and put the factory exhaust back on it. So found out that this is the factory exhaust, and we cut off this homemade crap that was on there, and it sounds really good. So let's fire it up. We'll put it in gear and see what it does. Still kind of slow about starting, but it cranks right up. Put it in reverse, and well, that's first gear there. Let's see where it goes forward. Goes forward. So how do you get it in reverse? That's first. Oh, you hit down twice. You hit down twice. Now you got the reverse blinking. Alright, so I guess to come out of reverse, do I hold this, or, oh, you just click up? Oh, okay. So to put it in reverse, hold the lever in where it was in first, so I click down again. Yep. Alright, so I figured that out. I looked on the internet, and the only thing I can find out was on the newer bikes, how you put them in reverse, and they actually got a red button right here. You have to hold a red reverse button and another button over here, I think the mode button or something. I guess it's electronic, and this is probably what's got a, see there. Oh, it's got a cable on it, so that cable, oh, that cable pulls something down here. There's a lever right here, so that's what it actually activates. So yeah, so now we know it goes in reverse, it goes forward, and this thing is good to go. So now we're just gonna start dressing it all up, and I gotta fix one of the headlights. It don't work. Fix headlight, and like I say, start dressing it up and get it ready for the road. I'm gonna put the fenders back on it. The rear tail section with the tail light, I mean the tag holder and all of that, and I got some new, well, this one's in good shape, but I had to buy two to get one. The other one was busted, so we got those to put on. We got a windshield to put on, and we're gonna get this stupid paint off the front of it down here. We're gonna get that off, clean it up, it should be ready for the road. So, oh yeah, and we got a new battery too. 340 cranking amps super start battery. So I am going to sign out for good this time, and we'll holler at you guys later. Just stay tuned till we get this old Can-Am back on the road.